Start the webinar, I would like to take a few minutes and mention about the sad news that the entire nation is mourning with. The sad demise of legendary singer Bharat Ratna Lata Mangeshkar ji, one of India's most beloved singer. The legendary singer, popularly known as the Nightingale of India, passed away yesterday. The entire CSIR family is deeply saddened, and through this platform, we pay our heartfelt respect and tribute to Bharat Ratna Lata Mangeshkar ji. In her memory, we'll observe 2 minutes silence. I request everyone to please stand for 2 minutes in silence. Thank you, everyone. We shall now start with our webinar. As we have known, CSIR established in 1942 has entered into its 80 years of esteemed service towards the nation. In this long run of 80 years, CSIR has witnessed many notable events and success through its laboratories and units located at various locations in India. This series of webinars are scientific discussion on various significant activities of CSIR and its laboratories, which initiated with its first webinar in January 2021, followed by many such webinars on significant technologies of each CSIR laboratory. In fact, in this series, with the support and cooperation of our laboratories, we have covered 37 such scientific discussions so far. And today again, we are assembled together for the 38th session in this series. The topic of today's webinar is very special and a commonly used household product for many of us. Today's webinar is on one of the very important and a nationally adapted technology from CSIR, and the title is the story of infant food formulation Amul from buffalo milk. And the story is covered from one of the CSIR laboratory under biological science discipline, the Central Food Technological Research Institute, CSIR CFTRI, situated in Mysore. The products and technologies that we make use of in the present time had definitely required a strong research and collaboration for its development. One such product is Amul baby food, whose indigenous development was carried out years back at CSIR CFTRI in collaboration with Amul Dairy. To inform us more about the challenges and activities in the development of infant food formulation Amul in India, we are connected today with esteemed dignitaries. Among the dignitaries, we have with us today Director General CSIR, Dr. Shekhar C. Mande, Director CFTRI, Dr. Sridevi Annapurna Singh, former Director of CSIR CFTRI, Dr. V. Prakash, Dr. Bm Vyas, ex-Managing Director Amul Dairy, and Commodore Amit Rastoghi, NRDC, New Delhi. I am Dr. Shikha with you, scientist from Science Communication and Dissemination Directorate at CSIR headquarters, and I welcome you all once again for the talk today. So without taking much time, I now request Director CFTRI, Dr. Sridevi Annapurna Singh, to kindly welcome our guests and the esteemed speakers and also our online audience. Over to you, Dr. Sridevi.
Thank you very much, Dr. Shikha, and greetings to all present. Yesterday, we lost one of our most beloved national icons in the field of music, Bharat Ratna Lata Mangeshkar ji. She was popularly known as the Queen of Melody, and I pay my homage to her and pray for her soul to attain Sadgiti. Om Shanti. Now, CSIR is in its 80th year, as told by Dr. Shikha, and I'm extremely happy to welcome Dr. Shekhar C. Mande, DG CSIR and Secretary DSIR to today's webinar. The series on 80 success stories of CSIR to celebrate this 80 years of existence of CSIR has been his initiative. And through these webinars, all of us are getting to know the inspiring journeys of the struggles, challenges, and successes of these technologies. It is indeed an honor to welcome you, sir, today. We have the success story of the technology on infant food formulation from buffalo milk developed by scientists at CFTRI. It is both my pleasure and privilege to welcome all the distinguished panel of speakers who have spared their valuable time to speak and share their views in today's webinar. I wish to now take you back in time to 1950 when CSIR CFTRI was born. Professor V. Subramanian came to CSIR CFTRI from IASC as the planning officer and became the institute's founder director. In the years that he was director of CFTRI, that is till 1963, many scientific programs he was responsible for directing them with a very dedicated team of scientists, technologists, engineers, and support staff. Many of the impediments that came across due to either lack of infrastructure, equipment, manpower, problems during scale up, etc., never deterred or posed challenges to the perseverance, self-belief, and scientific capabilities of Team CSIR CFTRI. From an initial staff of 3 scientists, the institute grew to be one of the biggest and one of the important global multidisciplinary institutions for the study of food science and technology through new thinking and approach. And of course, through the leadership of its visionary directors and director generals of CSIR. The institute today has a sanctioned strength of 225 scientists and 125 technical officers. The institute mandate was to find solutions to malnutrition and also prevent post-harvest losses in agri-produce of the country. And CSIR CFTRI, since existence, has given us several technologies from parboiling of paddy still used by processors in India. Nearly 60% of the Indian exports of spice oils and oleoresins are based on CFTRI technologies. Supplementary foods for government intervention programs at the national level, instant mixes in supermarkets, dosa batters, cut fruits and vegetables, fortified flours, all have the invisible hand of CSIR CFTRI. Many supplementary foods have been developed by the institute to reach children, especially for their requirement of quality protein and energy. As milk was scarce and expensive, the institute developed a product called Miltone for overcoming this shortage. This was a product that had about 50% milk substituted with edible groundnut protein isolate, and it was sold in the dairy outlets of state governments so that children would be able to get their protein requirements, which is equivalent to bovine milk. Many weaning foods, supplementary foods, fortified foods, and ingredients followed that were highly successful and were used in these intervention programs. They could be Paushtik Atta, Indian multipurpose food, energy food, protein isolates, Mysore flour, and so on. Energy food was also used extensively in the midday meal programs in the 1990s and continues to be a part of the disaster management programs as well as take-home rations in many states. Nevertheless, the best known in all these success stories of CSER CFTRI is that of infant food from buffalo milk, also called Amul. I am sure it will be a great learning for all of us to listen about this fascinating story of the technology of infant food formulation from buffalo milk, which was marketed under the brand name of Amul. After this, in the 1970s came the White Revolution, and India soon became the global leader in cow milk production and became self-sufficient. But in 1950, when CFTRI was born in the newly independent India, there was a paucity of cow's milk and all infant food required was imported. While there were many multinational companies that were marketing infant food from cow's milk, the same with buffalo milk, which was available in India, was not available. We could ask, what's the big deal? If cow milk can be made, then why should it be so difficult to make the same with buffalo milk? Is there a difference when it comes to the nutrition? Do these differences actually pose technological challenges, both in the lab as well as during scale-up and commercialization? Do the infant food from buffalo milk have the same effect as cow's milk? Were the equipment even available in the country at that time? Could the process be scaled up and have the same effect? And would it be accepted in the market to become a success? For all these questions, before that, we should know that the raw material, which is milk, was actually collected in copper vessels, and the milk containers were covered with straw that had high microbial content and therefore could contaminate the milk. The milk also lacked essential amino acids, vitamins, had higher fat, and became rancid during drying. And the curd tension that was formed in the baby's stomach once the milk was ingested was so rigid that it was difficult to digest. The successful transfer of this formula to NRDC and through it to the Kaira District Milk Producers Union Limited, Anand, led to the commercialization of the product, and at least 50% of the imports were substituted by Amul baby food in the 1960s. Later, I understand that Vijaya Dairy also introduced, but it was in the spray dried form. Our technology with Amul was in the roller dried form. So today we have a speaker who are a galaxy representing all these stakeholders who would be able to tell us this very fascinating story of how the Amul baby food came to be in this country. The webinar not only focuses on how the scientific but also the technological challenges that were overcome. Today, Amul is a household name. As always, solutions for national level food problems require teamwork, and the webinar topic for today on the technology of infant food from buffalo milk will highlight the role played by the large number of stakeholders from various organizations: CSER, CFTRI, Amul, and NRDC. We have representations from all these organizations to talk about it. We have our DG CSER and Secretary DSAR who will be speaking from the CSER perspective. We have Dr. V. Prakash, former Director CSER CFTRI, for 16 years from 1994 till 2011, and later Distinguished Scientist of CSER for 5 years subsequently. He is also an alumni of the MSc Food Technology program of CFTRI course and has been a part of the institute for around 4 decades. He has been my teacher, colleague, and director, and it is really my privilege to see him here today. I'm sure he will be able to share about the challenges during the development and commercialization of the infant food from buffalo milk. We also are honored to have Dr. Bm Vyas, former MD of Amul from 94 to 2010. Prior to that, he has been working in Amul for around 4 decades in Anand. He continues to contribute to the dairy industry with his vast experience, and we are honored to have him too. We will hear from the Amul perspective about this technology. I'm very happy that we have Commodore Amit Rastoghi, Chairman and Managing Director of NRDC, which is a Section 8 company under Ministry of Science and Technology, New Delhi since October 2021. Earlier, he was in the Navy. I'm sure he will share his the stakeholder perspective about the technology from NRDC. Now it is my proud privilege to request our DG and Secretary DSAR, Dr. Shekhar C. Mande, to kindly give his remarks today. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I also begin by paying my own homage to India's leading singer, Lata Mangeshkar ji. I don't think there is any person in the world, or at least those of Indian origin, who have not been touched by her voice. And she lives behind a big vacuum, and CSIR pays homage to her in her memory. Having said this, Dr. Prakash, Shri Vyas, Commodore Rastoghi, Dr. Sridevi, welcome to this particular series of seminars. As Shikha said correctly, we are celebrating 80 years of CSIR and 75 years of India's independence in terms of Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav. Though the growth of the nation, in my own perspective, has been synonymous with the growth in science and technology that has been piloted or literally led by CSIR over the years. Starting from the implementation of democracy in the form of indelible ink, to the reforms in the calendar system, to piloting the green revolution in which CSIR played a very critical role in mechanization of agriculture, the first of the tractors, to the Amul milk powder that we are going to hear today, the baby milk, to a whole lot of other developments, whether be it promotion of generic pharma industry, the piloting the first expedition to Antarctica from Inayo, Goa, or many other things, small things, but have added enormously in the growth of India in general in the last 75 years. And we are very proud that we belong to that particular family, which has contributed so richly to the growth of the nation and to our people. While I was looking at the story of milk powder, it was very fascinating that in 1957, the committee that was formed under the chairmanship of Shri Krishan Chand by Ministry of Food and Agriculture then, that India was importing thousands of tons of milk powder from overseas, including condensed milk, milk powder, and other related things, baby milk products, and so on and so forth, which amounted to roughly about 6 crore rupees import in 1957. And therefore, it was very important that we become self-reliant in production of all of these. A true spirit of Atmanirbhar Bharat, even in 1957. This committee gave a submitted report in 1960, and it mentioned very boldly that CFTRI should undertake work on converting buffalo milk into some of these useful products, which of course CFTRI did, transferred it via NRDC to Amul, and the rest is history. There are many people who grew up on CFTRI campus, some of my old friends, they wrote to me how emotional they feel about eating milk powder at the pilot plant of CFTRI in the 70s and 80s. And who does not like to eat milk powder? You know, I mean, if I take myself back to my childhood days, I think I'm not ashamed to state that it's one of the best things actually I used to have to eat. And in fact, we used to try to see how to evade mother and father's whatever supervision on that, sneak into the kitchen and have a kind of spoonful of milk powder to eat. And I'm so glad that CFTRI has been part of this particular history. CSR has been part of this particular history, and we're going to hear that from our experts from now. So I welcome all of you to hearing this interesting story about making of the milk powder and the baby milk food in India. Thank you all very much once again, and welcome.
Thank you very much, sir, for the opening remarks. And thank you, ma'am, for the welcome to all our participants and the audience. So to all our online friends connected with us, you can post your queries in the chat boxes below, and we shall be taking those questions at the end during the Q&A session. So today we are very fortunate and honored to have with us Padma Shri Dr. Vishweshwaraya Prakash. Dr. V. Prakash was former director of CFTRI Mysore for 16 years. And was appointed as Distinguished Scientist of CSIR for subsequent 5 years. He has received more than 66 national and international awards, including one of the highest civilian awards, Padma Shri in 2004, the Shanti Swarup Bhatnagar Prize, the highest award in science and technology in India in 1996, Rajyotsav Award from Karnataka State, and several Lifetime Achievement Awards from various organizations. Dr. Prakash is currently the President of International Union of Food Science and Technology and Vice President of International Union of Nutritional Sciences. Also the President of International Society of Nutraceuticals, Nutritionals and Naturals India, Chairman India Region of European Hygienic Engineering Design Group, Germany, and many other societies. So Dr. Prakash has completed 50 years of his untiring service and dedication to food science, food technology, and nutrition, resulting in 2016 peer-reviewed research publications, 55 patent filed, nearly 26 PhD guided, and more than 835 keynote, chief guest, and convocation addresses delivered, and has authored nearly 14 books. His interface with food industry and global academia networking is very huge and has carved an iconic name globally. He is a visiting professor in a number of universities in India and abroad, and continues to interface in many of the social aspects of research, researching out science to people in India. The 2004 tsunami survivors and the reach out of the food packets from CFTRI was a historic event, and perhaps the first time a research organization contributed together as Team CFTRI in the food relief and for flood affected on a massive scale and on a war footing for more than a week in India's East Coast, which is remembered even today. So we have a lot to hear from Dr. V. Prakash about his experience in the journey of indigenous development of infant food formulation at CSIR CFTRI. So with this, I invite Dr. V. Prakash for his talk now. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Shikha, for your very generous introduction. And it's very important on a day like this. My personal homage to Bharat Ratna Lata Mangeshkar ji, whom we lost yesterday. Not only India lost, but the global music has lost an icon. And we are all in the total gloom of agony and also real shock. But perhaps this program brings in a spark of happiness to those mothers who not only have the lullaby singing from Lata, but also the food from CSIR, CFTRI. They have fed, and many of us, as Dr. Shekhar Mandya rightly said, have grown up with that food without knowing even that one day we will join CFTRI, CSIR. So here it is. A good morning to all of you on this very, very wonderful day, of bright day in Mysore, not so cold, 25 degrees centigrade in Mysore, the right temperature for a non-hygroscopic temperature and humidity for infant food drying, basically. So with that, it's a great pleasure to see Honorable Dr. Shekhar Mandya ji, CSR DG, and also Secretary DSIR. And in a way, he is a part of NRDC also, because the whole structure of CSR, DSIR will also encompass NRDC. And Dr. Bm Vyas is no stranger to me, and we have met more than 15 times on several occasions. And not to miss Dr. Sridevi, who was my colleague in the institute for quite some time. So my job is much lessened because there are a lot of other stalwarts here, but I would focus myself very, very clearly in about 12 to 15 minutes, if that time is okay, Shika, that we will take you back into not only too many things to tell, but about people who got involved, people who made the difference, people who worked 25 hours a day. Don't quote me wrong, I'm not telling 25 hours is one day, but I know they worked for 25 hours. When Sridevi asked me to speak, I said, I have nothing to do with Amul. I can only be tabled as a consumer. She said, sir, no PI under this program of, we need a PI. And you know all of them, and therefore you must really help me in becoming a storyteller. So right now I'm a storyteller, but I have one advantage, a huge advantage. I have met all the 19 people who were involved in the infant food formulation. And that's something that I feel very proud. It starts from Dr. V. Subramaniam, the former director of CFTRI. I had a very close interaction with him in his own hometown in Tanjavur. Dr. S.K. Lakshminarayana, the chief engineer of the pilot plant, who really toiled day in and day out to produce infant food. Dr. M.R. Chandrasekhara, the Milton fame and the UNICEF awardee, and also Dr. N. Subramaniam, the person who is a protein technologist. Dr. P.K. Ramanathan, who is an engineer, who manufactured equipment in CFTRI. Please hear me, manufactured equipment in CFTRI, not just buy it. And Dr. Nair, the real hardcore technician in the pilot plant, and microbiologist Dr. T.N. Ramachandra Rao, who was a product of Indian Institute of Science, who came along with Dr. V. Subramaniam to this institute, and many host of others. 72 people totally worked with a strength of 90 people in CFTRI. So you can see the whole institute was working on the project of this particular national importance. But the most important point is the interface of reaching people and to address the societal problems. CFTRI was first introduced through this challenge, and tributes to all of them who really dedicatedly worked on this system. Most of my materials, I'm so proud, has been taken from, you know where? Not from any book anywhere. From CSR newsletter of 2010. CSR's newsletter of 2010 has covered a topic called CSR Breakthrough in Baby Food by Dr. China Chawla. This is the source of my talk for the 15 minutes. And I'm grateful. I can just read it without much hesitation because it's our own publication and I don't have to take the copyright. And here it is. So what I will do is I'll take a few quotes from there, complement and supplement with other quotes and go forward. Many times, 99% of the people whom I have interacted, I have cross-questioned, embraced them, have always said, Amul, CFTRI, Amul, CFTRI. Do you know anything about it? No, I don't know. So this is the stature today from A to Z. What is it? What is this infant food? So I would like to say that to be clear on this program for the audience, who may be anybody non-technical, and in a layman's language, there are 9 types of food basically. One is infant food or baby food, which the mother cannot produce milk or due to some infectious disease that she cannot feed the baby, and therefore we need a replacement immediately for the baby to really grow with immunity. Number 2, weaning food, how to wean the baby from the mother's milk and start making eat something. That is called weaning food. Number 3 is the balahar, which means it goes one step ahead of the weaning food, which is more pasty, which the baby can eat. But the Balahar contains more solids and much more protein and more carbohydrate and less of lactose. And that is number 3. Number 4, Balahar also became very famous in Nigeria. Can you believe M.R. Chandrasekhara went there? And 1 crore children per year were eating Balahar there because the mothers could not feed the children. You know why? They were going for work. Not that they were not capable, they were going for work. So M.R. Chandrasekhara went there and put Balahar there using sorghum and copy. And therefore, it is important to remember by 5th step. The 6th one is the midday meal. Dr. Sridevi mentioned of energy food. And today, India is the only country in the world which feeds 14.8 crore children per day, every day. Every day, 14 crore meals are fed to children. And it is important. Where did that start, Mom? That started from their thinking. And also, number 7, very important point, is the huge area that was covered by Dr. Mande in the CSR mission, which in 2019 and 20 closed. We have, as the chairman of that monitoring committee, we have now 12 breakfast foods for children ready for national implementation. Even before the nation asks, CSR is always ahead of time. So it is ready there. Need it, it's in 100 kg, 1 ton, 10 ton, 100 ton capacity pilot plant is designed. So here we are touching the people from A to Z, ahead of the thinking of the government, ahead of the world, and ahead of technology. With that, I would say it is important to realize that many developed countries at that time were having an eye on India because India was emerging as a leader in milk production. That's very scary for some of the other countries who were dependent on economy, for their economy on milk. And therefore, one of the directors of the dairy research from New Zealand came to India and challenged the Kaira District Cooperative Society. I'm sure Vyas would really support me on this point. And he said to Dr. Kurian, who was then, he's an engineer, he was not a scientist either, but he was an engineer. To him, he said, look here, what made you such a bad decision of taking about buffalo milk, converting it to baby powder? Global engineering wise, global science wise, it is impossible. You will lose your job and you will also destroy this cooperative movement. This is what was said, quote unquote, in Kurian's book. It is written very well. And he said, what can stop you from doing it? The answer that Dr. Verghese Kurian gave was amazing. Nothing. It is that nothing that made everything. So that's the boldness and not loving his own chair. And he said, come what may, it will be done. But he said, I don't have the technology right now, but India has. And that's when it is important that the challenge was that the common practice to mix milk and reconstituted milk powder around the world for cow's milk only. And even WHO, FAO said, hey, you can only produce infant milk from cow's milk. The regulations in Codex said only cow's milk can be used. And that even continued till 1999 when we fought from CSR. Cow's milk and other animals' milk can be a part of it. So not only CFTRI did that in 1955, 56 and gave the technology, but also had to change the global regulation, which took 40 years more to do that. So it is not just one step, but a global step to do. Today, to quote unquote that sentence, which beautifully reproduced in CSR newsletter of 2010, the WHO FAO Codex Alimentarius Commission defines infant food as a product specially manufactured to satisfy nutritional requirement of infant during the first months and up to the introduction of appropriate complementary feeding is a product based on milk of cows and or other animals. Very important. It took 2.5 years for us to fight and get that done. But one more point was added. and also other ingredients added to it, such as peanut flour protein, soya protein, etc., etc., provided it is tried clinically and also known to be safe. This is the very, very important, not that you can just add and sell it. So with that introduction, what happened? Dr. Shekhar Monday was very right. This committee that was formed by the government immediately asked CFTRI in Mysore to develop a formula for making baby food from buffalo milk. Why? 50% of India, 56% of India's population of cattle and is buffalo. So we are not able to really handle camel. So together in December 1956, the government really looked for the formula. What was the magic that CFTRI did? Very few people may be aware of it. What was the magic that CFTRI did? It was no magic. It was a torture to address things with a handful of equipment. A pH meter, a Westphalia centrifuge, a small spray dryer, and a drum dryer, and a boiler which will fail 3 times a day. It has to be refired every time. With that minimum infrastructure, and let me tell you, the money was meager. The budget of CFTRI in 1955 was less than 20 lakhs. Less than 20 lakhs. And we already had a large number of people working. So it was very, very difficult for the group. The first thing that was done was to reduce the fat in the buffalo milk. And that was done by Westphalia centrifuge. Even Westphalia, when they manufactured, they didn't know this will be used for this purpose. I think what we call repurposing drug today, the repurposing equipment, it was the innovation that was did. It did not meant to centrifuge a high-fat milk. It was meant to centrifuge solid and liquid. So this gave us a fraction of milk which was rich in fat, a fraction of milk which was less rich in fat, equivalent to carb. Now you can add anything to it to make it nutritious, D-L-methionine and so on, make it work, and then drum dry it. Why? Spray drying was banned at that time because it'll make a clump. So don't use scare. And the drum dried product was immediately ready for the government to take. And here it is, it went through the entrepreneurship of none other than Amul and the entire Kaira district. And this to find an entrepreneur, Amul struggled very hard to take this technology, but they could not take this technology. Why? There was a catch there. What was that catch? That catch was, it is not tried on humans. How can you give it to humans without trial on humans? And what was the amount needed? 10,000 rupees. Budgeted, not in CFTRI budget. So no money. And then it was the decision of CSR to give to CFTRI and to Amul through NRDC 10,000 rupees. I have seen that note in the file of CFTRI. 10,000 rupees was given to Dr. Kurian, and Dr. Kurian in turn, along with CFTRI, took that 1,811 kg of the product, went to Vellore CMC and tried with 120 children without much of a control group because not easy to get so many, but he did it. What was the end result? Total success. 100% total success. Now, otherwise the world will catch you. You have not tried on humans, you're directly going. Just like phase 1, phase 2, phase 3 trial of vaccine. Same story at that time in 56 with the baby infant food. And that's it. After that, the product was ready and here it was taken. But drum drying is not going to be very, very easy in large scale production. Dr. Vyas would agree with me. So something else had to be done. So the spray drying. So some more fat had to be removed, and that fat was not thrown out. It was used in other products and basically made into cheese and condensed milk, buttermilk and butter and so on. So Amul butter was the thing that came out of the... So it is the co-product and byproduct was also simultaneously came out. but the main product was the infant food. And this got the completion into a technology. That's when the innovation in Amul itself, and the spray dryer in CFTRI is still there, I hope, Dr. Sridevi. It was in one corner, and that spray dryer was used to produce the huge quantity of milk powder, which was basically an infant food with all the processors. And that made the innovation clear, complete. But let me also tell you, it got patented. CSIR was very smart right from the beginning. It got patented. And the royalty came in for a long time for all those. And the royalty also went to some of their families after their demise, because it was the family that sacrificed their time of 25 hours. Why that 1 hour, 24 plus 1 hour? 1 hour for dreaming. The dreaming that made it clear. And they all slept in the laboratory many times, and it was a very, very difficult 4 years for them to do. In doing so, there is a tremendous amount of other things that happened. I would like to go to the last 3 points. This paved the way of success to Amul spray. And even today, that baby, what you saw, the first baby is so much smiling. And some of them are today occupying, the babies which have grown up are today occupying very important places, not only in some areas, but also as iconic figures. So it is that baby which was significantly the icon of every mother. My child should be looking like that. My child should be as healthy as that. It became an icon. And that icon was basically Amul. And Sridevi has put the tin in front of her, Amul. And in our exhibition in CFTRI, there is a corroded first Amul tin. It's still hopefully there. But the baby has not corroded. The baby is still laughing. The baby is still smiling. The baby is very healthy. And it is important for us to realize what were the benefits to CSIR in the long run. That paved the way, as I said, those Sapta Swaras, those 7 products I mentioned, infant food, baby food, balahar, and all the way down to energy food, to midday meal, to even reaching tsunami. All that was a pulsating, reaching the public with our science. I, as a basic chemist, never thought I would work on something with technology. I was basically a biophysicist, calculating thermal energies, free energy, reaction, the equilibrium constants, ultracentrifuge. But when I saw Westphalia centrifuge, that saved almost 2 crore children every year in this country, I would strongly urge that a societal measurement of that. And of the 17 parliamentary committees that visited during my tenureship of CFTRI, all the 17 were made to eat in the pilot plant Amul baby food, freshly produced for them. There was an ecstasy of happiness, and a few others, their eyes were filled with tears. And the rest of the visit was not so important. So why I'm telling you, any person's heart will melt when you save a baby's life. And we should really know, as of today, from 1956 till 2025 or so, when CFTRI celebrates its 75 years, along with the celebrations in the nation, as is happening now of the 75 years of independence and 80 years of CSIR, we must know approximately what is the number of without which they wouldn't have survived today, perhaps. Or we must be paying a lot of money abroad to get this. I will close my talk by telling this also generated a technology called Balahar. Balamul to Balahar was a germination of grains, etc., such as cowpea, green gram. When you germinate, it will increase in its vitamins, and also the digestibility of proteins becomes much easier. This week, 10th of February, is the Pulses Day for the world. Pulses Day celebrated all around the world on 10th of February, and next year is the year of millet. Dr. Shekhar Mande rightly mentioned in the V. Subramaniam, endowment lecture in NIFTAM in Tanjavur last week. Therefore, suiting all the needs of infants. And also to understand that the digestion of milk is not possible directly with the buffalo milk. The professor from New Zealand was told after 10 years, here we are successful. Now we are number one in milk in 1997 with all the success stories. But even 2022, as of July 4th, India produced 200 million tons a year of milk. Thanks to Kaira district, thanks to NDDB, thanks to Amul, thanks to all the scientists and engineers and a fraternity of them. And it is important to hold an Olympic gold medal for 20 years plus, 25 years, and happen to be the silver jubilee year of 200 million tons. It is not easy. However athletic you are, you have to bow down to somebody. But CSIR doesn't bow down like that. CSIR will always run, will be running, catching that gold medal. And this is what many of our technologies in CSIR, and I'm so glad and proud that the 80 technologies that are selected are really worthwhile technologies to remember, not only for CSIR and the nation as a whole, but it is important that the world will remember when this series gets released. I have one point to mention in the end, which may not be so palatable, but I as a scientist, always remain as a scientist, want to make some point which is very important in the epilogue. Basically, the previous generation knew that Amul infant food came from CFTRI. But the technology was popularized, marketed very well, and also the support of NRDC. The 10,000 rupees is amazing. That was a timely, contribution. Of course, that is through CSR. But the baby's photo on the blue tin that you see there, really the CSR, CFTRI technology. Today, it was there on that at the bottom, technology from CFTRI. But somewhere down the line, the technology from CFTRI vanished over a period of time, and it recurred again it went back. So I would say if it is not in tune with the time and the technology that has been changed in the production of milk by other units and also by Amul, at least my request is fairly boldly near the baby to put original technology from CSR CFTRI. The sales may go up 100 times, I can promise you. Plus, it is a pleasure to put that name, not because I am from CSR CFTRI, but because that's the card in the heart and the tummy. That card will strike. Oh, CFTRI, take it. In font number 4 somewhere in the corner, nobody can read. Font number 16 is my request. You can decide on that from a business point of view. So I would say the sales will increase, the souls will be in there, not buying it, but will buy it. With that passion to this great institution, CSIR, and more passion to CFTRI, that's where I spent a lot of time. But it is also important that for the future, with the 12 technologies of breakfast in our shelf, 2 more years, that will be obsolete technology. So I strongly feel that should be pan-India 12 breakfast. It is created for each state one, because each state is different. Each state habits are different. Traditional food culture is different. So I think we can do everything in a very different way, provided we have takers like Amul. So it's a great thing, and thank you for this opportunity. I would always remember that I'm not a PI in this project, but had passionately interacted with them very clearly. And each one of them instilled in me a sense of pride. If you do not only good science, but also expand it and make it go to people, and that's very important. It doesn't matter patent, that should go. So with that, I would say thank you to those scientists who worked on that. Thanks for this opportunity and the platform to share some of my thoughts from the heart and from the tummy. Because just like Dr. Mande said, we have all stolen milk powder from the kitchen. But we are immediately caught because we couldn't eat it immediately. It will stick all around and next half an hour you are in soup. So you are caught always. So it is, but that is the love that baby exudes on the tin. And this is all because of good science, basic science, fundamental science, and therefore basic science leading to technology, leading to people will ultimately be a success story. Let there be 800 success stories of CSR by the year CSR reaches 100 years in the next 20 years. I wish all the best to CSR, all the best to Amul, and all the best to NRDC, and all the best to CFTRI, of course, in its journey towards finding solutions for the benefit of people's health and improving the quality of people, in quality life of people through Atmanirbhar Bharat. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir, for such a passionate talk, sharing your journey and experience in the development of Made in India infant food formulation at CSIR CFTRI, and also informing our audience about the history of research and technology involved in the development of this famously known household product, Amul Baby Food, which has helped numerous number of babies, mothers, and many other people loving the product and keep smiling. So thank you once again for your motivational talk also for CSIR. So we'll move to our next esteemed speaker, Dr. Bm Vyas. Dr. Vyas was the Managing Director with Amul under Gujarat Cooperative Milk Marketing Federation, Anand, from 1994 to 2010. Before taking over as MD, Dr. Vyas worked with Amul for 39 years in various capacities. During his tenure as MD, he developed and successfully launched 38 new products, developed India's largest cold chain network, developed India's largest ice cream brand within a span of 5 years, and thereby also created largest frozen products network. Also developed Asia's largest fresh milk brand, and has also attained various other notable achievements. Post his retirement from Amul, he was director on the board of National Dairy Development Board, NDDB Anand, from June 2014 till March 2015. Since his retirement in July 2010, he has also worked independently as an advisor, covering the fields in dairy marketing, fruit and juice industry, and beverages. Dr. Vyas has received various awards and honors in the domain, including Rajiv Gandhi National Quality Award of 2002, Business World, India's Most Respected Company Award of 2002, Quimpro QIM PRO Gold Standard Award of 2003, to name a few. So with this, I invite Dr. Bm Vyas for his talk now. Over to you, please, sir.
Good morning to all of you. Where Prakash ji has done my job very well already. So, you know much about Amul and particularly work done by CFTRI. Amul began in 1947, and the moment cooperative was formed and milk market was provided to farmers, production of milk and demand for organizing cooperatives in the villages increased, and there was a lot of milk flowing into Amul, which Amul marketed in the beginning in Bombay. But beyond 2 lakh liters per day, it was not possible to transport or process it and conserve. That being the case, there was a dire need to conserve milk into powder, especially during winter months. Because if you demand production of milk is much more in winter months, and when the demand is there in summer and shortfall is there, there is no milk available. That leads to wild fluctuation in the price of milk. And especially private sector or farmers would not get right price of milk in winter because supply is much more than demand. And while the reverse will take place in summer. So Amul was in need of finding a technology, and government of India was also very worried about exchange outlay on import of powder, which was going on. So Dr. Kurian tried to get some technology for drying powder and consulting people. Everybody said that, as Mr. Prakash said, that buffalo milk protein profile is different, or it can't be dried. Cow milk you can handle, but not buffalo milk. After a lot of work and consulting, from every corner, Dr. Kurian heard no only. He had a colleague called H.M. Daya, who was his classmate in USA. He said that he was the person who said that we should go for drying technology and we will overcome. So first step was to convert milk into skim milk powder. Because if you can conserve milk into skim milk powder, then the second step is to add value. So we place order, Amul placed order with Larsen & Toubro, and first powder plant was built in 1955-56, and Nairo supplied the first drying plant, and Jawaharlal Nehru inaugurated that plant. And that is where the first buffalo milk was dried into powder. But when you dry buffalo milk into powder, you can recombine skim milk back into milk, but you don't add value. So if you want to add value, you need to market a product for which there is a demand. And Glaxo, Sunshine, Baby Food was selling into India. Unilever was selling their baby food into India. And in the beginning, Amul was making milk powder, but that was supplied for defense purpose and other institutional market for recommendation in East. And in Eastern India, I used to consume skim milk powder, but value addition was less. So when the Government of India decided and helped with the help of CFTRI, Amul got a formulation for making infant milk food, baby food. In the beginning, we used to call it baby food. And because of CFTRI, it became possible to formulate. And I know what Dr. Ved Prakash said. We were writing on the tin that this product is developed in collaboration with CFTRI. And I joined in 1971. And I know up to 1985 or so, we used to write on every tin, every on the carton. No, this was this product, and we used to pay royalty also. I know that also. Amul had a written agreement with CFTRI. In fact, Balamul was also developed, and the Balamul trials were done in Vellore also. And even on Balamul tins, these declarations were there. Over a period of time, when the agreement came to end, when the royalty time frame was over, and there were several changes after the new law came into, baby food control order came into India, and that is where the baby's picture was also removed, taken out, and today there is no baby's picture, but we have replaced with teddy bear because that signifies baby, and the declaration also is gone. But let me tell you that this single development of making buffalo milk into powder and then adding value by formulating it into baby food NDDB put up nearly 70 powder plants all over India. And because the job was to conserve milk into powder, especially in flush season, and stabilize prices to farmer. And then with that price, farmer would invest and produce more milk. So that possibility, that process of conserving winter milk into for use in summer milk and equating demand versus demand on both sides, build the market of liquid milk in India. And that market is, we were producing 17 million metric ton milk powder in 1971, 17 million. And this year we are going to close to 207 or 209 million metric ton. So this much of, and the beauty is that in spite of so much growth in production, Indian farmer never received lower price than the previous year. So normally if you increase production of any food product or agriculture product, prices drop. But that has not happened into milk. And farmers of India really got whatever production support and protection and incentive price for the milk because of this technology. I came on the scene in 1970. At that time, of course, there was some sort of different policies of government existed. We used to have a control system, licensing, and all these. And when I became MD, just before that, Indian industry was liberalized. And with liberalization, the lifestyle of people was to change. So I happened to be MD when the dairy industry was getting transformed. Private sector was allowed. And double income families would come, and younger population of India had multiplied from 37 crore to almost now 130 crore. So all those projections were there. And there was a challenge to transform the organization from socialist approach to a new open liberal economy, and then design and develop products for which demand will come because change in the lifestyle. And those things have happened on product side, be it cheese or ice cream or Tetra Pak milk or beverages and whatever. But micro changes are still required. As for example, when I see every day in the morning, when I see ad of Ensure on television, I know for sure that Amul spray is no way inferior to Ensure. If you compare the formulation, you will find that in fact it may be a little better. Dr. Kurian took challenge to take CFTRI product from laboratory to market. You call it infant milk food or baby food in 1960s. I salute his guts because he could think of adding value to milk and compete with the world and built a network which has stood test of time even today. So new generation of people who are now there in marketing, you have to have such guts and take on any competition. I know that Ensure is made only claims that they make only out of cow milk. And yes, Prakash said we have 50% milk, buffalo milk. So why buffalo milk not there on Ensure pack? But why do we don't make Amul Sure? What stops us from doing that? Or why we cannot work with CFTRI and toast those breakfast foods in the market? What is stopping us? That is the question to be answered. And that is the challenge for the next generation. I wish CFTRI work more vigorously and challenge Amul and challenge Government of India to take these researches into market. That is to benefit producer and farmers and the citizen both. If we are increased our lifespan from 37 years to 70 years, it is not because of vaccine, but food and the milk we have given to the children of this nation. We have made India healthier and Ayushman. So we have to understand that innovations don't happen every day. And organizations balance sheet is not everything. Investment on R&D, result come after decades. Sometimes takes longer. But those scientists who put effort in development of baby food, as Prakash said, for 25 hours, have given great result, unparalleled. The next generation should see to it that they live to this legacy in days to come. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much for your talk and for informing us about the struggles and timeline Amul has faced for the marketing and making availability of milk powder developed by CFTRI to our homes. Thank you once again. So we'll move to our next speaker, Commodore Amit Rastoghi, retired, who is presently. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I can see tears coming out of Dr. Vyas's eyes. That is not for sorrow, of course, sorrow for Lataji today, but this happiness that India is still leading. Thank you. That's amazing that he controlled his emotions, but he's really, you know, he really spoke with his heart. Thank you. Sorry to interrupt, Shika.
Sorry, sir. Sorry. So please calm down, sir. I think he has left.
The very soft person, very soft person.
So shall we move ahead? We'll move to our next speaker, Commodore Amit Rastoghi, retired, who is presently the Chairman and Managing Director of National Research Development Corporation, NRDC. Prior taking over appointment as CMD, he had an illustrious career in Indian Navy for 34 years. He holds a bachelor's degree in electrical engineering from JNU, master's degree in electronics and telecommunication from Pune University, and MSc in defense and strategic studies from Madras University. He is also a distinguished alumnus of Defense Services Staff College, Wellington, and College of Defense Management, Secunderabad. In his professional career in the Navy, he had the diversified experience of serving on frontline warships and in naval dockyard, naval headquarters, missile establishment, and Directorate General Quality Assurance. He carries the unique distinction of serving on aircraft carriers Vikrant and Virat as head of the electrical department. He has a demonstrated capability of management of large enterprise with diversified and multidisciplinary technical workforce, whilst simultaneously engaging stakeholders ranging from DRDO, academia, industry, and ministry for meeting organizational objectives. So with this, I invite Commodore Amit Rastoghi for his talk. Over to you, sir.
Thank you very much, Dr. Shekhar. Firstly, let me also pay homage to our Lata Mangeshkar ji, whom we lost yesterday, and on behalf of team NRDC, we pay our homage to the departed soul, and it's indeed a huge loss for all of us. And as Dr. Prakash said, it is not for our country, for the nation, for the world. We have lost such a melodious voice who's been part of our life right from our childhood even till today's times. With this, let me start by wishing our Honorable Dr. Mande, Dr. Reddy, Dr. Prakash, Mr. Vyas, Dr. Shikha, to give me an opportunity to be part of this platform. And I indeed feel very small in front of such distinguished panelists who have got such envious credentials. And when I was listening to the resume which Dr. Shikha was reading out, I was wondering that having been part of the defense for 34 years, being an electrical and electronics engineer myself, and here I'm talking about the infant food formulation. So it's quite a transformation. I've been in the chair for last 3 months, but I have indeed gone through the story which Dr. Prakash was mentioning, and this entire story by Dr. P. China Chawla. I've gone through it word by word and was trying to figure out where does NRDC exist in this. And as you rightly mentioned in your talk, that NRDC came at a very, very strategic point when there was that shift needed. And I think that is the role which we still continue to play even in today's time. So for the benefit of audience, NRDC is a technology transfer organization. It's a Section 8 company under Ministry of Science and Technology. We have been performing this role for the last 69 years, have developed a kind of strength in the field of technology transfer and also in IPR portfolio management. So I could literally feel the passion in Dr. Prakash, and certainly through the emotions of Mr. Vyas as to what it takes to narrate a story of which you have been part of. And all of us have gone through it. I have stolen Amul milk powder from not only from my mother's kitchen, also from my aunt's kitchen, umpteen number of times. And even today, if I have to put, wife asked me to put some milk powder in the tea, so half of it goes in the mouth and then rest of it in the tea. So that's the quality, and that's the kind of association all of us have had with Amul milk powder. So our story has been, my story, I would say, association with Amul has been as a user. And now having heard it from all of you, and also being part of the NRDC, I look at it from a different perspective now. So the storytelling certainly has happened through Dr. Prakash and Mr. Vyas. I will certainly make an attempt to give a different perspective to this story, because any story, whether it is a successful story or it is a failure, it certainly enriches us and it gives us certain lessons. And the strength lies in the fact that we should never forget those lessons. And these are those things which are time tested. And as Dr. Prakash was also mentioning, that how this formulation has come about and how this milk movement in Kera has resulted into development of a brand called Amul Spray. So this journey which has got performed, so I would like to, my perspective would be that first of all, what were the highlights of this, the technology which got developed? It was a niche technology, especially at that point of time. Though the milk powders were available through the cow milk, but to make an attempt to make a milk powder out of through the buffalo milk was indeed a challenge, and we have heard. So this was a niche technologies of those times, and not only infant food formulation, but also the plant and machinery which goes into, because I understand that H.M. Dalayaji, the close friend of Mr. Varghese, was responsible for development of neuroatomizer, which made it possible for the, I would say, the bulk production of this at Amul. So this was the niche technologies of those times. What did it do? It fulfilled the technological void which existed at that point of time, because the food was getting imported from outside. So, and it also fulfilled the societal needs of those times. And basically, there was a requirement of a good quality food for the infants. We were sourcing it from outside, and now we had an indigenous source available within the country. So it resulted into the boost to the indigenization effort. And lots of saving of foreign exchange indeed happened through this. So I would say these are the highlights of the technology which got developed in early 50s. And so one would try and see as to how did it happen. Obviously, it happened through who were the stakeholders. The CFTRI, CSR, CFTRI certainly were at the research end. Then we had the industry in the name of Amul at the production end, and RDC being the technology transfer organization, hand-holding both researchers as well as research community as well as the production entity. So it was, I would say, it was a collaborative effort. Everyone working on their own strength, and with that strength, we achieved this objective. And every organization utilized their own strength to bring about a value addition into the final product called Amul Spray. So the next question is it relevant as on to date? I would say yes, indeed, very, very relevant. Broad contours obviously remain the same of that era, because any technology which gets developed in our labs, it is required to get converted into a product. It means we are looking at a technology commercialization process. We are talking about that basically the mind has to be taken to the market or lab to the land. So there is a commercialization process which is involved, and this is true even in today's time. So what is different? The difference is in the environment in which the Amul Spray got developed, and the environment of today's time. And what is so different about this environment then? Today's environment obviously is, I would say, slightly more challenging, where we have accessibility to global market, stiff competition to indigenization. So it puts more of responsibility on us, especially when we're talking about Atmanirbhar Bharat, on the research community and also on our entrepreneurs and MSMEs to be able to develop a product of world-class standard. And we have large number of startups and MSMEs in today's time. And also the product scenario, having being from, I would say, a technologist myself, and having seen the electrical and electronics world to some extent, the today's products are multi-tech products. It means they use large number of technologies, whether if a phone also has to get realized, it will have thousands of technologies in it. So it means there is a requirement of a technology brokering. No single technology can result into development of a product. So these are the things which makes today's environment. The next question comes about is that how should we adapt to the today's environment, or I would say for commercialization of innovative technology. So what is the key here is innovative. Very, very important, mainly because any technology what we come out with, it should either fulfill the technological void or it should fulfill the customer need. So there is a requirement to remain connected primarily with the societal needs. And I would say in today's time when where the world is progressing and we are talking about Industry 4.0, so what are the technological voids which we have? How can we possibly address them? So it means those are the things. We have to have a market need analysis or a market research based, I would say, a development happening. Technology brokering I have talked about, because technology brokering is what is the need of the hour primarily to realize the multi-tech products. Another very, very important aspect, I think we are ultimately looking at, when a technology gets developed in a lab, there is a vision to it, or there is a product, or I would say in mind of a researcher, and he envisioned a particular quality. Then there is a process of technology transfer which happens, and it happens obviously, I would say, an organization called NRDC. So what we are looking at is that the quality which was envisioned by a researcher should remain maintained. So it means there is a requirement of hand-holding which must happen between the research community and the industry. And this translation only will ensure that the quality comes out, because this is through our interaction with both the communities, we have had this feedback that what I had envisioned is not what has come out. So it means there is some gap somewhere. So how do we fulfill that gap? So hand-holding is must, and that obviously can happen, I would say, through an organization called NRDC, which has umpteen experience in this field. Also, I think we must extensively utilize the startup ecosystem in today's time, because earlier we did not have that kind of bandwidth or the freedom to choose, I would say, the production entities, but today we have the large number of production entities which can realize that dream which gets brewed or cultivated in a lab. So it means we can have multiple success stories in today's time. And that is the kind of support mechanism which is also available to the startups. What is needed is basically some kind of hand-holding from our labs so that they are able to develop a niche product. And what is it? What Amul story has taught us? Lastly, I would like to put it across is, and that will continue to remain the buzzword even for the years to come, collaboration. We can develop anything all by ourselves. We can develop the strength of developing. We can have the development of a industrial plant design. We can have the business development group looking after this. So it means one entity can think of doing it, but is it required? But I feel that we should work on our respective strength, utilize the strength of each collaborator or stakeholder, and then I think we'll be able to come out with not only a successful product, but a product in much lesser time frame. And as I think in a short span of 3 months, what I have also seen, I think Dr. Shikha is looking at, because I'm being the last speaker, the axe on time falls on me, but I'll just take maybe 2 minutes on this. The kind of success stories which were written, I think 50 years, 60 years back, today also we see that kind of passion in our academia, universities, and also in the labs. And there are kind of technologies which will stand the test of time, and we are able to realize those things. And one such thing which I recently saw was a technology from Kumayu universities, where we are talking about manufacturing graphene from the waste plastic. So it means someone started with the passion that the Himalayas is getting spoiled by the tourist, and the loss of plastic gets left behind. And he started on a venture saying that we must make use of it. And what he comes out with is graphene, on which the people have got Nobel Prize. But the country is able to now develop its own technology in manufacturing this product of sorts, which has got umpteen applications. So I just wanted to make a mention of it, that if we work on this, handhold it, maybe I think 50 years, 60 years down the line, we will say that it has been, it's a wonderful story. So as I look at it, this collaboration must continue, and that will only write the success stories for our new India. And once again, thank you very much. Thanks, Director CFTRI, for giving us this opportunity, because I'm envisioning NRDC to be a global entity and to be able to do much more than the present mandate of what we are doing of technology transfer, wherein we are also able to handhold and provide and translate that dream or vision of the scientist when we take that technology to the industry. And thank you very much for this wonderful opportunity once again.
Thank you very much, sir, for your talk and bringing out the key highlights of the product and its suitability in the marketplace, and also summarizing the entire story of Amul Baby Food. And thank you all the speakers for sharing your valuable experience and your comments for in the journey of development of this product for infant milk formulation. So now we keep this forum open for discussion, and we shall be taking few questions from our viewers. I'll just check. So this is for Dr. Prakash, where one of our viewers is saying, such an inspiring talk. Thank you very much. This is such a massive contribution of CSIR CFTRI. However, no one today knows that it is a CFTRI contribution. Why is CFTRI not mentioned in Amul spray pack? Why do people know about this and other such contributions of CSIR? So I think this was mentioned by Dr. Vyas also. Sir, please, Dr. Prakash, if you can have any comment on this.
Yeah, I guess generally the commitment between industry and R&D institutions always is with an MOU, with a patent, with a process patent or a product patent, etc. Generally, the umbilical cord gets cut when that date is over. The MOU date is over, and in some cases, the product gets changed into a different format, different formulation. So the industry itself will take it up in its own format, and then the previous one gets completely cut off because that has nothing to do. But that's why I suggested in my talk if the industry would like to really make sure that that is what they want, it's always good to put original technology from CSIR CFTRI. That's all. It'll be eternal, like Lata Mangeshkar, eternal. Because if you say original technology from CSIR CFTRI, you cannot remove it, right? The original technology might have changed the format, formulation. So there's always a solution for any impossibles. So industry may say MOU is over, it's all done, we are now a new product. But as Dr. Vyas rightly said, Ensure can be Amul Sure. And it's possible today to do that. But we have to be aggressive, very, very aggressive. And that's where it is. But we have to be humble, and that's why I put a request to Amul. Please put original technology from CFTRI.
If CFTRI writes to Amul, I don't think they will say no.
No, you're right. Basically, you're right. And I think our relationship is so good that we don't even, we just have to pick up a phone and talk. So that's what I felt. It is possible. But to protect everybody, to protect the system, if we think of in any technology from NRDC, from CFTRI, CSR, it's good to put original technology from the particular institute. That will be a golden game changer in all the products of CSR. Anywhere.
I would suggest even from Amul Share also you can write to them and talk to them.
Right.
And I may add one more point also. Indian sweets market, particularly milk product market, is very, very big and is very regional also. And CFTRI can play a very big role because India's milk production is going to increase from 200 to 400 million metric ton, and we will not know what to do with this milk. So we have to change the mindset. We have to wake up these people. And if you develop, you see everybody is working bits and pieces. All dairies are doing something small thing on Indian sweets, but comprehensive work is not taking place.
And it is traditional also, and Mysore Pak came from Mysore.
Right.
Thank you.
200 dairies are there in India. And we can have huge, big change, very big change.
Thank you so much, sir. So we'll take the next question. This is again for Dr. Prakash. So, yeah, it is what taste of consideration when developing the milk food? Is there any taste consideration made to make it close to mother's milk? Not only taste, even for how close it is with in terms of nutritional factor when compared to mother's milk. So was there any consideration made?
See, the question is very relevant, but I would like to place the question in a perspective. The perspective is, today the regulation is that first 6 months the baby has to be fed only with mother's milk. There is no choice. The mother obviously cannot deny because the real immune system grows at that level at 6 months. So first 6 months, no other food. But as I said, barring the problems of lactation, the problems of not enough milk, barring the problems of infectious diseases during the lactating period, these are the special considerations under which the mother sometimes is not able to fulfill her affectionate milk to the child. That's when, with the prescription of the doctor, this comes. And today, it cannot be at the cost of mother's milk. Mother's milk, when not available, we are talking about infant food. So that's the first thing that should be very clear, and not that this is better than mother's milk, so don't give mother's milk, give this. No, I think very important to convey this message that here, look here, mother's milk is first. But barring those problems, it is impossible to mimic mother's milk because mother's milk has a large amount of glutamate, basically, which is required for brain function, which is required for cranial system to develop, which is required for immunity to develop. And therefore, it is today the various ingredients that goes into different infant foods like DL-methionine, many other protein, almost to the tune of about 22% to 25%, basically. But again, we have to also look at lactose intolerance. And CFTRI has worked quite a bit on that because many children are lactose intolerant. In other words, when they take lactose along with any food or milk, they get allergic reaction, they get bloating, they get diarrhea, they get nausea, vomiting. So many other considerations are taken care. This is one of the reasons. If a child is lactose intolerant, it is very difficult to feed to it infant food. So what other kinds of food you can give it to the child? Child doesn't have a teeth, please remember. It cannot eat anything that we eat. So here it is the challenge. Many soft foods came out at that time. So therefore, it is not necessarily, it is a competitor to mother's milk. But technologies are there in all these, about 47 technologies from CFTRI to my knowledge. When I retired, maybe Sridevi has added more products by now. It is important to realize that it is possible to do this very, very effectively. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. So we have next question from Professor K. Kannan. to Commodore Rastoghi ji. How does one explain this success of 50s not repeated later with other products? Sir, you have any comment on this?
Can I have the question again?
Yeah, how does one explain this success of 50s not repeated later with other products?
I feel that the success story should always be repeated.
Of course.
So that is what I talked about, that one has to look at the environment in which you are operating. At that point of time, when the CFTRI developed this infant food formulation, there was a societal need which obviously became successful because there was a societal need, and also there was an excess of buffalo milk which was available. We didn't know what to do. So to fulfill those requirements, these two entities came about together and developed a product which at large met the requirement of the society. If the same thing has to be done today, we need to look at what are the technological gaps and what is the societal need. Most importantly, the technological gap. And based on that, whatever technology, I took an example of graphene. There are very many products which can be made out of this, and it is 50 times or 100 times harder than the diamond. That is what is said. So in order for it to be made into a success story, in today's environment, we have large number of startup and MSMEs who are available, and through them, we can rewrite that kind of story what was written in 50s. And there is enough of support mechanism which is available from the government also through equity participation and also through grant. And we at NRDC also are supporting the startup and MSMEs through two of the promotional schemes called TDVC, Technology Development Validation and Commercialization, where the support of the order of around 1 crore is given if someone has got a potential idea. So we can certainly work on it together and make sure that it results into a product which meets today's requirement.
Thank you very much, sir. So we have few more questions and comments. I'll just take quickly. This is to Dr. Sridevi. Is the formulation of Amul spray the same as it was when CFTRI initially formulated it? And in your opinion, how long will it continue?
Amul spray, you mean?
Yes, ma'am. The
Okay,
question has been.
I think the technology that was transferred originally through NRDC to Amul was the roller dried food. And later, there were some changes made for the spray drying part. But now formulation, I am not very clear because we are not part of that anymore. Some time has passed, and Amul is continuously, I think, reinventing and innovating. Probably Dr. Vyas may be able to say if it is the same formulation or different at this time.
I think Dr. Vyas is not.
I might add and support Sridevi on that. Amul spray is innovating the innovation.
Okay.
Very important. The innovation was drum drying and roller drying. What happened in that product was the product was not soluble quickly. So the mother has to keep on stirring. The baby is crying. There's no time. Keep on stirring. So it won't be soluble. It requires preparation. So when spray drying was thought about with atomizer by the that made a lot of difference. So, but who will produce that and do the human interfacing theory? But what constantly changes is the product conforms to the specification of Bureau of Indian Standards for infant food. That keeps on changing 2 years, every 3 years. Like in 1 year, you have requirement, regulatory producer is Amul, who has to change that product to fit into regulations. So that's what keeps on migrating. And that is not innovation too much. It is to more stringent food safety, more stringent microbiological safety, more stringent allergy safety today, and so on and so forth. So it keeps on modulating itself in terms of regulatory requirements. Because of that, it keeps on changing. The baby photo went away into a teddy bear photo. Okay, so that doesn't mean the contents will change, but these are all important as to different classes of population, whether rich, poor, ultra poor, or no food. All of them have to understand this in the local language. Many times the local language is also printed on that. Yeah, so it's amazing India. It's not easy to print in all the languages, but it does so. It does so, at least in advertisements. So to comply to regulatory, the spray will be maybe ultra spray. Maybe it changes, but regulatory requirements we have to manage, always regulatory requirement. Okay, that's very important. That's why you see the name change. But let me tell you, the innovation continues. Delta incremental innovation, then micro delta incremental innovation, but innovation never dies. It keeps on modifying itself to regulatory and to the consumer. And of course, funding agencies like NRDC, who will fund both industry and the research institute today to bring them together on a common platform so that one product comes out. Otherwise, the institute produces one product, the industry wants another product, it doesn't gel, and there is some kind of a commotion. Now with NRDC, with the part of CSR, it becomes a very big unit of funding. We had Nimitli project. I'm sure, Amit will remember, we have a lot of Nimitli projects doing that. That's what one of them has to be really doing in terms of modification. So whether original Amul, spray Amul, ultra spray Amul, and whatever is the future, but inside it is the first innovation, cannot be changed. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. So we have another question from Dr. Prakash only. How has the market for Amul spray been? Has it been growing or stabilized? And how about the competitors?
Well, it's not only, I won't be able to speak too much on the marketing, but I think one thing is for sure. India's buying capacity has increased by almost 9-folds in the last about 25 years. Now, at one point of time, Amul spray or Amul baby food or infant food was not affordable to some of the people who were below poverty line, correct? Therefore, there were Anganwadis, there were others who came into existence in taking some of the technologies of CFTRI and giving them, whether it is energy food or upma or sweet upma and so on and so forth, Anganwadis used to get in that process. So therefore, it is not necessary that only we look at Amul baby food or infant food in the tin. There are bigger tins that have come out now. With as you grow forward, you will see Balahar was converted into the Anganwadi thing, and then the midday meal came in, and then the Akshay Patra came in to take that technology into a bigger, scale manufacturing, 5 lakh meals a day. So that has to be a freshly cooked one, according to Supreme Court. So therefore, it is all but important that not only that, but everything else that is made with that as fundamental in a cascading, telescoping way has found the market because buyers can today afford. It is very important. Ready upma mix that came from CFTRI, ready kshira mix that came from CFTRI. It takes only 3 minutes for even a working lady who may be very busy, belonging to a rich family. It takes only 5 minutes to cook that upma. But she can add her point of taste to the family. That 5 minutes is for her to claim with the family, hey, I added this flavor which you like, my dear son, my dear daughter. That is the flexibility that CFTRI makes in pre-cooked, ready-made, instant food. So that, by the by, this is a nice time to say, one of the success stories, instant food in the world came from CFTRI. Never from other countries, from CFTRI. Instant food came from CFTRI. What is instant food? It's not ready. everything is ready, but the last final touch-up the mother gives or the wife gives, and nowadays husband also gives, right? So it all depends upon who gives the final taste. So therefore, there's a tremendous amount of loaded information of basic science in that. So I hope that answers that clearly in a broader sense of market. So this huge market, the supply is less than the demand. That's for sure. The supply is less than the demand. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. So we'll take a last question here. This is a small idea. Develop healthy junk food. CFTRI can do this. So the nation will be benefited. So is it possible? This is for Dr. Sridevi. So ma'am, can you just have a comment on this? I think we have lost connection.
Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So there is nothing actually called junk food. I mean, food is food. Only thing is when we eat something that our body is not going to be utilizing it and it gets stored by fat, then there is a problem. Definitely CFTRI is developing a lot of foods, but nutrition is going more towards personalized nutrition, which means based on my age, the gender, the kind of lifestyle I'm leading, I need to eat certain amount of calories, protein, and all of these things. And we are designing a large number of foods which are specifically targeted to specific populations. That we are doing, be it they are having diabetes, maybe somebody wants to control their cholesterol levels and so on. So we are working on that, and some of them are also ready for commercialization as of today.
I'll just add one sentence to Sridevi's point. No food is junk. Perfectly correct. Secondly, your junk diet or junk food. Never call potato as a junk food. No, potato is healthy, but if you make a junk diet out of it, that is unhealthy. So there are a lot of junk diets, but there are no junk foods. Show me one food which is junk. No food is junk. We make it junk by a diet combination. So therefore, please eat as much fresh fruits and vegetables, 60%, carbohydrates about 20%, and about 10% of 10 to 15% of protein in your diet every day, according to your weight. And also eat whatever you like in a moderate way. Enjoy your food. If you like a piece of junk food, for argument's sake, take a moderate quantity of a piece of that. Maybe otherwise mentally you will not be satisfied. So please take care of mental as well as gut requirement in eating food. If you bar yourself, you may become a mental situation. So enjoy everything in moderation. Enjoy everything in moderation. And no food is junk. And there's only junk diet. And if you want to taste still that, please go ahead and taste, not gulp. Taste. That will give you mental satisfaction. And I'm sure if you want to bite a piece of Mysore pak, you would love to have it, right? But don't take 5 of it and get into trouble with the trans fatty acid. So you can have a piece of it, enjoy. So life is very short. We need to enjoy, and we need to enjoy food. And Mysore is the capital of food. That's why the Maharaja gave CFTRI its building to start a food research institute. Of course, Amit, there is a Defense Food Research Institute also here, right?
Yes,
so
yes.
Anything in food, Mysore is there. So the request from an audience is always well taken, and CFTRI is always there, and director is very dynamic, Sridevi. She has heard it, and she will now produce more technologies. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. So very correctly said, no food is junk food. Our diet becomes junk. So we should take care of our diet. So we have a last comment from Leelavati Banurji. She says, it was a great talk by Dr. Vyas. He was emotional only. People who have put their heart and soul feel that way. So I hope younger generation scientists, technologists, and people take forward and prove the world that CFTRI and India can offer to the world. So thank you all the speakers with this and for your talks and responding to our viewers also. It was great listening to all the panelists today and was really fascinating to know about India's first indigenously developed infant food formulation from buffalo milk by a CSIR laboratory, CSIR CFTRI. So we have almost reached the end of the session, and before closing, I request once again Director CFTRI, Dr. Sridevi Annapurna Singh, to kindly deliver the closing remarks. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you, Dr. Shika. Indeed, it was a very, very fascinating 2 hours almost. And I was just wondering, why does it strike so much of a chord in us? There have been many, many success stories that we hear, but somehow probably the Amul girl, Amul food, anything to do with Amul brings a smile to our face. And it's probably because whenever we think of our mothers, no matter how old we are, we have a smile. And probably it is food which is so important in our life. It is one of the basic needs, and this has probably met that need. And the kind of passion, the kind of emotions we have actually witnessed today when the speakers were the distinguished panel was talking, the kind of emotions that came through showed what sort of time was invested, the kind of thinking that went to it, the kind of resources, and everything at some point looked against the tide. But nevertheless, victory was there. And this was a victory for the country. And I'm sure I'm extremely proud that I am part of that organization, which is one of the stakeholders. When Amul baby food came into the market, I was not born, but I still can't help smiling because I am in CFTRI and I'm having this legacy of my seniors who have played this wonderful role. And definitely, it has come out very well today that technology is only possible to be commercialized and be a success if the conception, the lab scale trials, the process engineering with different makes of equipment, the shelf life studies, clinical trials, nutritional analysis, chemical analysis, safety, scale up, marketing, advertising, political will, all of this works as a team. And that is probably what happened in the case of Amul. And it was not even restricted to only Mysore or Anand, it was all India. And we are definitely going to see many more, I hope, and CSIR would be associated with that. Today, Amul is a household name. It was not so a few decades back. So definitely this would serve as an Atmanirbharta example that our Honorable PM is looking for. And definitely I would like to finally talk a little bit about CFTRI, the way it has come. Though this was the first success, it led to many other success stories. And today, if you look at CFTRI, we are working on 4 verticals, be it engineering sciences, technology development, translational research, food protection, and safety. All of this was the fallout of many of these successes that followed 1950s story of Amul. And we are also the nodal referral lab for food testing and analysis. We do a lot of training. In fact, Dr. V. Prakash and me are examples of having gone through the master's course in food technology. Many of our alumni are in very good positions globally, not just restricted to India. And it is a part of this course which has helped our career progression. We are mentoring startups today and entrepreneurs. We are expanding our technologies basket to meet the contemporary needs, to make sure that the right food is given to the person who requires it in the right proportions. We continue to serve the country and the food industry by carrying out such cutting edge research in food science and technology. And definitely, I would like to end by thanking Dr. Shekhar Mande, DG CSIR and Secretary DSIR, Dr. V. Prakash, our former director, and Dr. Bm Vyas, ex-MD of Amul, and Commodore Amit Rastoghi for their extremely valuable inputs and time. I think that suggestion of original technology from CFTRI is a wonderful suggestion, and I hope that I will definitely write to Amul, and I hope that they will heed to our request, and we will soon see CSIR logo as well as CFTRI in the tins, because nothing gives more satisfaction than to go to the supermarket and see on the shelf that the organization you're working for is there. I also thank you for the moderation and team CSIR headquarters for the smooth conduct of this webinar. I thank all the people who have come in and logged in to hear this fascinating story for taking their time out. I would now request Dr. Shikha to please share the 2 slides that I have sent. And I would like to leave everybody with these images about the original baby food that was the technology of which was developed at CSIR CFTRI.
Is it visible, ma'am?
Yes, it is. So can I go to the next slide? So this is the original Amul Tin. In fact, when I went to Anand also, I looked for it, but they did not have it. And when I said there is one tin in CFTRI, they said, could I please give it to them for their museum? So this has the CFTRI written there and the CSIR logo. The next slide. So Amul in the initial years in the 60s also advertised about the CFTRI association, be it when they got the ISI certification or when Dr. Subramanian won the Kidwai Prize for this infant food formulation. So yeah, I just leave you with these wonderful images. Though they are in black and white, the baby, ever smiling as usual, touches a chord in all of us. Thank you very much. Over to you, Dr. Shikha.
Thank you very much, ma'am, for summarizing the session and for the concluding remarks. So this is for our online friends. As mentioned in the beginning of the session, this is a part of the series CSIR at 80 and Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav, which is being organized every week on a successful technology of CSIR, highlighted one story in each session. So you can find more about these technologies on CSIR webpage, where a blog on each success story has been shared for our viewers. So stay tuned for the upcoming session on the success stories of CSIR. Till then, take care and bidding you goodbye.